Welcome back to Overhead Athletics. I'm Max Wardell. We're going to be talking about when to change an athlete's throwing mechanics and when not to change an athlete's throwing mechanics. We get a lot of athletes coming to us after surgery, after injury, and those are the primary times we want to work on the athlete's throwing mechanical sequence. Really, if we have an athlete coming to us in the off season and we see something that doesn't look quite right, they're not moving in the way that we want them to move, generally that's a time where we're going to start to work on how they throw and get them into a more efficient biomechanical model so that they summate speed and they use their kinetic chain in the way that we want them to use it so that they're maximizing their transfer of kinetic energy from one segment to the next. What we see a lot of times is that athletes are relatively inefficient at certain phases of the throw, and it results in them having decreased velocity as they go to throw towards the target. So with those cases, especially in the off season, that's something we're working on. Now, if we have somebody, like we said, surgery, injury, we're always working on how those athletes throw because we want to take them away from the positions that contributed to or led to their injury in the first place to begin with. So absolutely working on it, following a surgery, following an injury, or if the athlete is having chronic discomfort and it's not allowing them to play at the level that they want to play at. And that's what we see a lot of times in season here at the Overhead Athletic Institute. So we see athletes who are maybe playing, but they're not playing to the level that they want to play at. And part of the reason is they're having a bit of chronic elbow pain, a bit of chronic shoulder pain that they're trying to get out of. And if we can decrease their pain and allow them to be more pain-free as they play, all of a sudden their performance is going to start tick, tick, tick as high as they want it to go, or at least as high as their potential is currently allowing them to perform at. So we're going to work on it those times. When we're not going to work on their throwing mechanics is in season. It looks pretty good, but there's a few things we may want to change and they don't have an injury. Really, if we see something glaring come in, like, hey, this athlete's really got a huge risk factor for injury. They put their elbow in a very poor position as they drag their arm through the acceleration phase, we're probably going to be working on that. But if their throw looks all right, where we don't see anything that's glaring, that's striking us as, hey, this is going to be a really big risk factor for injury, and they're not in pain, we may try to subtly work on their throw using some external based cueing, using some different things where they don't have to think about what they're doing actively or consciously, and we're just going to put them in different throws that over time can lead to the type of change that we want to see, but is really going to allow them to solve the movement related problem on their own. So that's what we do in season. In the off season though, somebody comes in, they want to increase their performance, they want to throw a little faster, they want to get out of pain, or they want to protect themselves from injury. At that point, we're talking about a really laid out process that's going to be more involved, is going to involve more dedication on the athlete's part because they have time to do that in the off season. And if they're not going to dedicate time to it, they're not going to make the changes that they're going to want to make and need to make to get to that next level of the game. So those are kind of some of the things we're thinking about when athletes come in and when we're going to train mechanics and focus on how they're throwing and when we're not. And the same type of thought process goes along with how much exercise are we going to do? Are we going to do a bunch of rotator cuff exercises right before they go out there and play? Are we going to do it maybe twice a week if they're playing high school baseball? And if we are going to try to work on their throw, like I just saw an athlete last night, wants to improve his throwing mechanics because he can play the field without too much discomfort, but he can't get on the mound without his elbow hurting. When we look at his throw, he drags it right through the open pack position. So we're going to work on that because we want to allow him to get back on the field and allow him to get back on the mound without pain. So we're going to work on it, but we have to be very structured in our approach so that we're using every throw that he makes to work on the change we want to get him to make without having any detriment or decrement in his performance. So just some things to think about. Make sure to subscribe, and we'll see you guys in the next video.